Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? Come on in, sit on down. It is Wednesday afternoon, evening for me in England. I'm thinking it's afternoon for you guys over there in America, and God only knows what it is for everyone else in the world because I don't keep track of that kind of stuff. But I'm here. It's Wednesday, and I'm in the mood for a bit of a live Q and A. Don't mind the coat and scarf. It's freezing here today in the UK, and I don't turn the heating on in this office because it risks becoming an absolute sweatbox. So the radiators are turned off, but I'm feeling it today as a result. It is very cold, so that's why I'm wearing the coats. Maybe I'll take it off if I do get a bit too warm throughout this, but for now, it's a necessity. It's a necessity. So how are we all doing, everyone? It's been a weird one for me. I'm feeling odd. I can't really explain it, and maybe I'll do a little bit of a rant and a diatribe going into this, kind of explain why I'm feeling a bit strange. But I feel like there's something off about today, and I can't quite explain it. I want to know if anyone else is feeling this, if it really is just me, and maybe I'm having a bad day. But I for some reason have just been in a really bad mood today, and I can't really explain it. Nothing out of the ordinary has kind of happened, but I've just been like tense and easily irritated and kind of just on edge and off and a little bit strange, and it's I don't know. Cause I've kind of got over the hemochromatosis pain, the chronic illness issue, and I feel like I'm coming out of the back of that now and feeling a little bit better. But something else is clouding kind of my mind, and maybe it is just because I've got this problem. I don't know, but I don't think so because I feel like today the atmosphere of the day has has this air about it. Now, I don't know what it's like for certain climates, people listening, but here in the UK, I'm sure this happens everywhere, but we have lots of coming and going of high pressure, low pressure weather systems kind of waving through our country. And we have like quite common, it's sunny for a while, the clouds come, it rains. It's sunny for a while, the clouds come, it rains. It's warm and then it's cold. It's very much up and down quite consistently because we have these fronts coming in constantly from the North Atlantic currents, the drifts, that bring those fronts to us. But you can actually you have this feeling, right? And we can feel it here, and I'm sure you can feel it in your own countries as well when this type of thing happens. But you can just be going through the day and then suddenly you just feel the pressure drop. There's like a huge drop in pressure, and the air gets cold and bitter very quickly, and it's almost instantaneous. And you feel it's just something that kind of just it literally comes over you, and the whole atmosphere, everything changes, and there's some like a charge in the air, like an energy, and it's about to rain. Okay, like you just know, like it's like a pattern you've recognized. You know what I mean? Within like your nervous system, and that pressure drop is a sign that you need to get home and get under cover because it's about to absolutely chuck it down torrentially. It's going to be terrible. Get out of it. It's going to be cold, and wet and miserable, just like most of England actually is. But you can really feel that pressure drop, and I feel like I felt that today, but not for the weather. I feel like we've just gone into that low pressure zone where the cold is coming in and something is about to happen in general, on the world stage, shall we say. I don't know. I just feel like I've had that feeling today. And it's really like been off putting and at the forefront of my mind in a really odd way. And I really can't explain it. And I wonder if any of you guys have been feeling something similar. And, I've been talking about quite a few things. I've been covering a few topics on this channel lately. And the more I've like been delving out into like the worldly news and what's going on in the headlines, the more I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. Like we are in the middle of major waves, aren't we? Of change, the winds of change, and or something like this. Something's happening, and you can sense it. The people have changed, and I kept seeing on that topic, the people have changed thing. I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but on YouTube suddenly there's been a lot of videos with that title. People have changed, or people are different now, and the reason is terrifying. And it's just like some really concerned looking person just looking down in the dark. It's like people, things are different. People have changed, and it's the reasons why are absolutely terrifying. And it's that title copy and pasted on like loads of YouTube channel videos, all making that same video. And as a YouTuber, I can give you some insider information as to why that's happening. Okay, if I think if you get to a big enough level, you get given AI tools to make videos with, and I don't use them because they're actually useless for what I do. These live Q&As and my own videos, I just don't need what they're offering, But they have this way for like creators who aren't very creative, basically, to it's called brainstorm. This is what the section's called, and you can literally it has a list of trending topics that you can choose to want to talk about, and it'll say create a thumbnail for me, create a title, and create talking points, and it'll just do it all for you, and it'll just give it to you, and you just make the video with the thumbnail and the title they've given you, and just talk about the things that it tells you to talk about, and it just gives you the topic of the trending topics. And I can tell that's why all these videos suddenly appeared. That's what those people are doing. They're using that feature, and the algorithm is telling them to say people have changed, and it's actually terrifying why. Like, just to go on all these random talking points about how terrible it is to exist in today's world. So that alone gives me pause to wonder about the agendas at play here to make people have these feelings and thoughts and attitudes towards existence and living in the modern world, But just though, if you weren't aware of that, if you've seen yourself a lot of videos with the same titles suddenly popping up, that's why they're cheating. Okay, they're using the YouTube tool because they can't come up with anything original to talk about, basically. And who am I to say? What am I talking about today? A weird feeling in the air, But I don't think it's completely unjustified to think and feel this, especially when you're in the conspiracy world. I mean, Annabelle Albion says, I've noticed a few people's voices change, tone, speed of speech, etc. I'm not going to name names because I don't do that, but okay, you've noticeably noticed people's voices changing. Oh, fair enough, maybe. Connor saying, dropping aliens would be a great distraction from Epstein's dead man switch. Well, on that, the alien stuff, I actually have been just looking into that briefly. And the big hype is, didn't Obama recently say, oh, aliens are real? Yeah, they're real. I've never seen one, though, but it's highly probable that they are out there, And everyone's taken that as a sign in the UFO community. Is it MUFON? Is that still a network? I don't even know what they are these days. UAP community, they have taken this as like a sign of a pending incoming disclosure coming from the government through these drip feed methods over a long period of time, And it sounds like, the usual crazy conspiracy stuff that we've been researching for years, and they've been doing this a lot, teasing aliens and so forth. And naturally, we in our own community here have come to the conclusion they're not aliens, it's something else. It's probably interdimensional or demonic, and they're just going to pretend to be aliens from space, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But that news is looming right now. That lie is kind of creeping up quick, isn't it? And it's kind of there in the back of our minds at all times, like, when are they going to do the alien invasion thing? So I looked into it, recent news, and there actually was an article that came out that really threw me off, to be honest. I was not expecting it. Let me just share the screen with you here, and it's from the Independent, and it's British news. That's not it. Let me just quickly. I'm gonna have to go to put me in the bottom corner there, and it does this sometimes. I've got to recapture. So properties, restart capture. There it is. Right. So this article was just here. Bank of England must plan for a financial crisis triggered by aliens, says former policy expert. Financial markets could collapse if the American government confirms the existence of alien life. This was a month ago, January the 18th. Okay. And it says here the UK must plan for a financial crisis that would be triggered if the US government announces that aliens exist. Like, why does it have to be the US government that announces this, by the way? I don't understand this Amerocentric worldview from the Anglosphere that we hinge on the very words coming from the mouths of the leaders of America for some reason. But if America announces aliens exist, a former Bank of England expert has said that it'll be terrible and it's going to trigger a financial crisis. So Helen McCaw, who served as a senior analyst in financial security at the UK Central Bank, has written to Andrew Bailey, the Bank of England's governor, urging him to set out contingencies in case the White House ever confirms the existence of alien life, according to the Times. Miss McCaw, who worked for the Bank of England for 10 years until 2012, said politicians and bankers could no longer afford to dismiss talk of aliens, life, and warned a declaration of this nature could trigger bank collapses. She reportedly said the United States government appears to be partway through a multi-year process of declassify and disclose information on the existence of a technologically advanced non-human intelligence responsible for unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs. I'll try and say that after you've had a few, right? There we go. If the UAP proves to be of non-human origin, we may have to acknowledge the existence of a power or intelligence greater than any government and with potentially unknown intentions. Her warning comes as senior American officials have recently indicated their beliefs in the possibility of alien life. A recent UFO documentary, The Age of Disclosure, 34 US government insiders, including those from military and intelligence community officials, were spoken to about an 80-year global cover-up of non-human intelligent life and a secret war among major nations to reverse engineer advanced technology of non-human origin, according to the film's description. The director, Dan Farrer, spoke with sources including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, New York Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper to discuss the government's work with UAP, the formal term for UFOs. Rubio told the documentary maker, "We've had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities, and it's not ours." Miss McCaw said UAP disclosure is likely to induce ontological shock and provoke psychological responses with material consequences. There might be extreme price volatility in financial markets due to catastrophizing or euphoria, and a collapse in confidence if market participants feel uncertain on how to price assets using any of the familiar methods. The former Bank of England worker explained there might be a rush toward assets such as gold or other precious metals, the government bonds which are perceived as safe. Alternatively, she said precious metals might lose their status as perceived safe assets if people speculate that the new spacefaring technologies will soon increase the supply of precious metals. And there you go. What an odd article this is, right? This is strange to randomly just come out on like a relatively reputable news source, whatever that means these days. But they're talking openly about aliens coming. Okay, it's getting more and more kind of out there in the open that it's any minute now it's going to happen. You got like former central Bank of England worker going to the writing to the head of like our banking system here in the UK within our government, and a news article telling us about her correspondence with them to warn him, you better be preparing for the possibility of a financial crash due to aliens. I'm telling you right now, like people are going to lose their minds when that gets released. When it's not like an if, it's more like come on, are you prepared for this eventuality? Like people are gonna absolutely lose it and start like selling all the stuff or buying up all the stuff, and no one's gonna know what to do anymore, and you're gonna have a crash. Are you prepared? And it's like, are we prepared? Ooh, and that's one thing to add to the list of why the air feels funny, why things feel a little bit strange. Okay, now I just saw a 4chan post as well, which was, I think the Conspiracy Hole Telegram channel is where I saw it, and apparently it's like inside a US government, basically government people and Q people, basically trying to say like, America is about to nuke Iran in the next 3 days. I've heard that, okay, which is going to start the war, the absolute war with the Middle East. It's going to kick it off, okay, and it's all going to, everyone's going to start getting dragged in any minute now. Who knows if that's the thing? Is that the thing? How can we trust these sources that end up on 4chan? From what I'm hearing, 4chan is now this creation through Epstein and the people who are involved with him to propagate false conspiracy theories in order to muddy the waters of what the truth actually is while they're out there doing their thing. You know, that seems more likely what this whole thing was really about. And these fictional truther movements like Q, which are basically just a attention hole, a pit of nonsense to distract and drain your precious attention resources and vital essences. You know, that's all this is. So I'm not going to put much weight to that. There's always going to be war. The nuke's always going to drop. But they've been saying that since the bloody 80s, right? Whatever. And then on the other side, it seems like Keir Starmer, our UK Prime Minister, just got absolutely outed as basically involved in the Epstein scandal by proxy through one of his best friends who he knew was a regular at the Epstein Island, and basically Epstein's little sex toy, something like this. Very odd, very strange, but he's hanging on by the skin of his teeth. And obviously, when an animal is cornered, they start doing stupid things. So I have no doubt that he's pushing through insane socialist, communist, globalist policies right now, because that's what he is. That's basically, he's just a tool for the system, for the globo homo homogenous society that they want to push onto us, you know. And he's now obviously flirting with the EU about going back and joining with them again, because they need to be a solid state for the coming wars in the future, you know, something like this. It's all about war. So that's kind of echoing in the air. Let's put that on the list as well. It's pretty persistent. It's pretty persistent stuff. Then obviously with the Epstein files being released, that has put something out into the system. People are now 100% aware of the absolute evil we're up against. Is the only way to describe it, and what's actually in this world. And I saw a very interesting post, and again, this was a while ago. I'm not going to go digging to find this now, but someone who was like an expert in psychology basically said the way they've released these files is a tactic. It's actually a very specific tactic used in a court of law as well. And it's actually illegal to do it this way, but it has been done, and people find ways of getting around it to basically slow down due process and also confuse and overwhelm people. Basically, the psychological impact of releasing them the way they've released them is a tactic to make it impossible to do anything with it, because it's just a mountain of information with no way of passing through it easily. It says in a court of law, you deal with one piece of evidence at a time and see it to its end, and then you do that one at a time, compiling them on top of the other. Now, if just bear with me 1 second, guys.
In a world where 54% of Americans read below a 6th grade level.
Could you read this?
It's impossible. I just see his words everywhere.
One man wrote a book about the hidden truth behind clowns.
I finally finished it. Everything's going to be okay now.
Links down below to the Amazon.
But he was about to find out.
Your primary market is the USA, and it ranks 36th in global literacy rates, with over 43 million adults unable to read or write.
Getting the truth to people is no day at the circus.
You know, sometimes I wonder if I'm the real clown.
Nobody reads anymore.
Have you considered recording an audiobook?
You're going to get a sore throat.
You're serious about this, aren't you?
You don't understand. I have to do this. The people have to know.
That book will ruin everything.
I will not use AI to record this.
We can't let him reach them.
This is just something I need to do. I don't even like clowns. The end.
Now they can hide that they're completely illiterate. This is amazing.
This season, playing on rectangular devices with black screens near you. The Nephilim looked like clowns. The audiobook.
Okay, and I am back, and I'm turning up the gain. How does that sound now, guys? Is that better? Yeah, apparently people were complaining that the volume was too low. My phone has been going off on silent in my pocket. My wife has been trying to contact me apparently to let me know that everyone's complaining. So she ended up knocking on the wall, which is why I quickly stopped and went across, and she's explained it to me. So yeah, I've turned the gain up on the preamp here. Maybe my kids have come in without me realizing, getting dialed it down at some point. But I hope you can hear me now. Is that better? Is that louder? Let me know in the chat before I continue on my diatribe and try and pick up from where I left off, wherever that was. Read the comments in the meantime. See what we've got here. We've got Wendy in the house. Thanks for being here. Connor's here as well. We've got all the moderators in. I'm sure I saw MK Ryan there earlier. We've got Carmen Studer here as well. Good to see you. MK Ryan says, better, much better. There we go. Sorry, guys. Yeah, again, I've got a preamp here. Everything was set. I've not touched it. I don't touch it because it was all set. But clearly my kids must have had a field day when I wasn't looking, when my back was turned and come into the office. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, back to the diatribe. So yeah, I do think these files have been released for the sole purpose of traumatizing us and making us not be able to actually do anything with them that's useful. You would have a mistrial if evidence was presented like this in court. You know what I mean? It would go nowhere because it overwhelms the whole process, and there's no way too much at once. It would just affect the juror, you know. Like, they just wouldn't be able to handle that overload of information. Everything does have to be dealt with one at a time, which would then compound on top of each other in a process. So the witness, you know, the people who have to make the decision, and the judges and obviously the jury, can actually confidently make a sound-minded decision that isn't bent on fear or being overwhelmed or anything. It's a psychological tactic that's not allowed to be used in a court of law, and they've done this to us on purpose for that reason. They have just released 6 million files all in one go, with that are just a mess, and don't, like, they could mean anything. Any email could be about anything. Any picture could be is completely out of context. It's heavily redacted. Names are not included, and when they do release names, it's heavily controlled under their mechanism. But they're releasing all the images and the names of the victims involved, but not the ones who were perpetrating the victims. And all of this just seems like a huge psychological operation to make us not be able to do anything with it that useful. But at the same time, it's an externalization of the hierarchy situation, isn't it? Like I explained in one of my other videos, you know, they are literally showing themselves for what they are. But it's not like they care about being released. Like they want people to know what's going on now. They knew this would happen. They knew they would eventually get caught anyway. There's no way they could hide this forever. You know, loose lips sink ships, and it's like they can't control everybody all the time. So they've controlled the release of the information on their terms, and they've made sure that our reactions are completely controlled as well. Like, this didn't happen in a vacuum. For a very, very, very long time leading up to the release of these files, there have been drip feed release facts about what people do behind closed doors in these secret societies. We all remember Pizzagate, right? You know, these type of things have been leaked to us for over many years. So when this file finally comes out, it's not so much of a reactionary shock thing. It's more of a acceptance of the way it is type of thing, and passivity and apathy kind of abound. But while they're also releasing this information, no one's going to really take any consequences for this. They know that, because they can just pretend to be dead and go on and live a new life under a new identity with cosmetic surgery for a new face if they wanted to, or on a private island no one knows about. So they don't really, people involved really aren't scared or care about this, I don't think. But the show that we're being given is destruction of the old world system. Okay, we have to believe that we discovered the truth and something's being done about it. Okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to make it seem like, well, you know, these shady old men in back rooms doing horrible things to people, you know, making deals with one another, ruling the world from behind the scenes. It's kind of that has to stop, right? We can't have that. So we need transparency about where money's being moved, and we can't have these dodgy deals where money laundering going on. So we need to make a digital currency only, no more paper money, and then we obviously have to control it through a technocratic AI-run system where men don't get to have this kind of power anymore. The control mechanisms are handed over to computers or something like that. You know, so technocracy and digital currency. That's the end goal. That's where they would like to be, because that's more control. And you do that by sacrificing the goat, using the scapegoat. You've got these evil people, we'll bring them all down, and we've beat them, and we've tore down the old structure of patriarchy and evil and Satanism and all that sort of stuff. And a new age has risen from the ashes. A new fiery phoenix has risen, and here we are, order out of chaos. That's how these people operate. So I think that's probably what's going on there as well. And that isn't to say it isn't sickening and horrible and disgusting, but I feel like that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to disempower us and make us see and think and feel that we can do absolutely nothing about this because it's just too all-pervasive and too much, and these people have too much power, and they aren't even scared of showing it to us. So that, again, makes people keep their heads down and carry on and shut up. Not my problem. Not my problem, which is just not the truth, because it's everybody's problem, obviously. But I'm trying my best as a not perfect human being with thoughts and feelings to not be so angry about all of this and try and keep it cool and level-headed and not react, because that's what they want. But it's tough, It's tough when you're reading about the victims and just what these people have been doing to them. It's really tough. And then not even to mention all the aftermath stuff, and the interviews we're seeing. It seems like, Ghislaine Maxwell and giving her no comment video isn't even her. It's just some person who looks similar to her. And when you compare the photos next to each other, they haven't even got the same nose or eyes or anything. Like it's just a lookalike pretending to be her. So where's she? She's off probably on some island somewhere, not actually having a problem, or isn't she on some kind of like special like prison where it's all luxury and wonderful for her because she's incredibly rich? But that video makes it seem like she's in some terrible place. And in the background of that video, she literally has the tree of the knowledge of good and evil behind her, like a flaming tree, dead on one side, on fire on the other. It's kind of how much occult symbolism and trickery and duper's delight you want to throw into one video for the public, So yeah, the whole thing is suspect as hell, and psychologically this is having a massive impact on everybody in a big way. It's making either people angry or nihilistic or both. I don't know. And I think also denial is eventually going to seep in as they go through the 5 stages of grief before they reach acceptance, which will be a compliance type of acceptance is what they're aiming for, I think. So I think we're in the throes of that right now, and the whole world has been turned upside down because of the truth revealed about the hidden hands of power in this world and how they operate. I think that's left a gloom in the air, which is compounding onto this weird feeling I've been getting. Like there has to be a breaking point, right? Something has to be done about this, right? And it's going to be a controlled outcome. You just know it is. They don't release these files. These are not released on accident. There's no way they've done this without some kind of backup contingency plan. I just don't see it. I really just don't see it. Thanks, Dove, for the super chat. I appreciate that. 22 euro. You don't see euros much these days. Thanks for that. And to Schweb as well. Keep shining the light of Jesus Christ. Thank you for the generous donation. I really do appreciate that too. Sorry I missed all these. When I get on my rants, I just get away from the chat, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. I'll check the chat quickly before I carry on, just so I'm keeping up to date with you all. We've got Cage Fighter here as well. We've got Cybergun. I'd rather there be anger than apathy. Well, yeah, you'd hope someone have some reaction somewhere or something would get done. But I feel like the whole thing now has just become this murky, foamy mess no one can see through or get to the bottom of. And that was the point, because it's just too much. It's too much. And we don't know if anybody in any government is doing any kind of inquiry into this, or if the law is doing anything about this, because we're kept in the complete dark about the processes behind the scenes. And it's kind of like we're just left with like, well, somebody must be doing something, right? So nobody does anything because no one wants to be implicated into this in any way, do they? In America, the power goes out for more than 12 days. It would be a Mad Max, Book of Eli type of setting, plus everyone has weapons too. Can read books, but they have all the puberty. Well, sure, no, that's a worst case scenario. I think all the movies like Book of Eli and Mad Max would want us to believe that when that happens, humanity will eat each other alive like zombies. I think that's what they would like us to believe, that the default position when the power goes out is for everybody to start killing each other like animals. And you know what? I've seen and read examples where it kind of does devolve into that quite quick if, resources are scarce, or let's say there was a place, I think it was Serbia, where there was a blockade done onto them. Was it Bosnia? I can't remember, but and they were basically surrounded by the military, and everybody within that city was basically left to their own devices with nothing coming in or out. So that did cause that development into chaos, because resources are scarce and it does become a fight for survival. But if America, the land of abundance, that suddenly the power just went out. I mean, I think in America, at least, you have a solid Christian foundational belief system there of love thy neighbor that would kick in, and instinctually your communities would hopefully come together, at least in most rural areas, and help each other out, and maybe revert back to the olden days, horse and carriage, lamp lights, the rest of it. Get you, trim your wicks, guys. Let's get it sorted. Maybe the Amish can come in and give you guys some pointers as well. In the UK, where we have more densely packed cities and densely packed areas, I think we could be at risk because there is such a diverse group of differing cultures and opinions. It's crammed into such a small space. I think enclaves would get created, and there would be an us and them thing happening very quickly, and I think chaos would probably ensue in England faster. Again, the rural areas might be okay, but I don't know. I don't think we have to just evolve to chaos and eating each other for sustenance just because the power goes out. I think the movies and the predictive programming would like us to do that. I think the programming is there to make us default to the programming when it does happen, but it doesn't have to be that way. I think if people didn't watch so much TV and weren't so indoctrinated with all that kind of stuff, when the power does go out, maybe they would just go and knock on the neighbor's door and say, "You okay? Do you need anything? What have you got? What reason?" The whole village comes out and starts talking to each other and maybe helping each other out and say, "Well, I've got this over here. Well, I've got that over there. Let's do this. Let's work on this. And let's get some food for everyone. Let's get everyone a drink." And I think everyone would work on it. It could be like that. It could be, but the movies don't want you to do that. So the movies, it's always chaos. So I don't know. Like we'll see. I think that's one of those when it actually happens, we'll see type of situations, isn't it? I think that's when we're called to love thy neighbor. Really, like you're in it together now. You'll do better together than on your own. Let's all just work together. Wildside thinks we should just run to the hills. Yeah, that's also sound advice too. You could just do that. If you've got the skills to make it on your own out in the wilderness, you will probably much safer there if you have those skills and resources. That's probably true. Yeah, because most people don't have the skills and resources to survive in the wilderness, so they would avoid it, and you'd probably be able to hold out there a lot longer than most people. The rumours of the royal family abduction of children for consumption isn't so far-fetched. Well, yeah, this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem. Like, those files have shown us that all leaders and people with power and money are now suspects. All of them. This is just what we know about. One island with many guests of powerful, influential people. What about all the ones that haven't been released that we don't know about? What's going on, And this basically changes the power dynamics of the world now. Like, everyone realizes they're being complete and totally led by psychopathic monsters. Blood drinking, child sacrificing monsters, the worst of the worst. And another real psychological impact of this whole thing, I saw someone leave I think it was a tweet, I don't know where, what do you call them now on X? A post? It's just a post? Okay, so probably on X anyway, but he was basically saying something along the lines of the psychological impact of this isn't necessarily that we're discovering that powerful people do shady things behind the scenes. They control everything and we're screwed. And what it really reveals is actually just how stupid they are and how dumb and pathetic and weak and sad they are, which in a way kind of makes them more dangerous. So he phrased it probably better than I can. I'm going to try my best now to say, in other words, you can see many emails from these evil people giggling like schoolgirls over the secret little things that they're doing that nobody knows about, and speaking in code to each other using things like jerky to talk about human meat. You know what I mean? And having all these horrible like they're all have this inside thing that only they understand. You know what I mean? And they're like they're so giddy and full of joy to be in on it with Jeffrey Epstein, and emailing him saying, "I love you so much. We had a wonderful time. I'll make sure to send you some beef jerky when I get it back and tested from the lab," and all these type of things. And you're such a wonderful man, Jeffrey. And they're all talking about knowing, the things I saw this guy do is ridiculous. This guy's crazy, and it's showing that what power and money does to the minds of individuals, and the sordid, sick, twisted, perverted glee they get from doing these things to people is actually scarier than what most conspiracy theorists think, or have at least previously thought. That these are cool, collected, precise individuals with a very strict agenda and rules and principles, who are working to diligently and incredibly, through 5D chess, 20 steps ahead of us, control and dictate the direction of human history, and us are their slaves in a way, in total dictatorial control from the hidden hand, pulling strings like puppet masters. When they're not that. The giddy little weird school children are all having a perverted laugh with each other behind the scenes, and the morons, they're just stupid. It's really dumb. And it's kind of, I think stupidity can be far more dangerous than intelligence when it comes to control, power, and influence and money. I think that's what we've learned through these emails, and that's what this guy was trying to say. This is way worse. Like, these people don't have really much of a plan, actually. They roughly know they want to just get rid of us and turn us into a serf slave class, and they basically dictate and rule over us. They've deferred the means of getting there to smarter people than them, below them, who they pay a lot of money to design and create the robots and the AI and whatever it is else they need, and the killing machines, and the systems and the softwares and the hardwares that they can use to corrupt and extend their own life, and you know what I mean, and get that gold juice in them that helps them, live forever and the rest of it. But they aren't the ones doing it. They have smarter people than them below them doing that for them. And they're just reaping the benefits, and even that person below them is going to get shot in the back of the head by these idiots, these morons with extremely low IQs and a lot of power and wealth, And it's worse than we thought because of this. That's kind of what these files are releasing has done to the mentality of people. We realize we're being controlled by psychopathic weirdo creeps, idiot, fools. True fools and clowns, so I might as well bring my book into this somehow, as literally what it's like. What are we supposed to do? When I read that, it took me back to really old school conspiracy topics here, and Donald Marshall. Do you guys remember this? He used to talk a lot about cloning centers. He's probably still doing it, And he was saying for a long, long, long time, over and over again, quite relatively consistently, I was in these underground cloning centers, in these underground military bases, okay? And what they can do is they can steal your consciousness in the middle of the night and wake you up in a clone body in one of these cloning centers. And all these rich, influential billionaires have done the same thing. They all wake up in these underground military bases in their sleeve, the empty vessel that they've got waiting for them that they pay for there. And when they wake up in this underground military base in this new body, they've programmed these bodies to not feel pain and have super strength and the rest of it. And they basically just run shot over a bunch of people and kill and torture and rape and have sex and play silly games and have meetings and plan the next thing they're going to do. And it's kind of, these people are technically never sleeping. They're always awake, always doing something by transferring themselves to this. This is kind of his story. And he was one of the victims that they would regularly get there. They thought he was entertaining because he could make music, and they stole all of his songs, and a lot of rich, famous people who went there basically used his music and got famous from it in the waking world, the real world. And it's kind of, he was on the front cover of a Megadeth album, I think he was claiming, as well as a dead body. But that was literally his dead body that they would torture and kill in the cloning center and then bring him back to life and do it again, And that was kind of where they got their sick pleasure. And he would say that Queen Elizabeth II was there, a regular, and that she was basically functionally retarded. Like, she was actually incredibly low IQ, very dumb, like dumb, like not intelligent in the slightest, through like obviously years of inbreeding and the rest of it. And the public front we have of her is just a complete lie. This is what he's saying, okay? But at that point he made that, like, these people were very, very, very dumb. They're not intelligent. Like, intelligence actually is not on. That's why they are Satanists. They're easy to control because they're so dumb. They really do just give into base pleasures and instincts because they don't have any higher thoughts or abilities to comprehend empathy for people, or that or care, or because they don't have the intellectual capacity to care. That's the scarier thing. Like, they're not intelligent. They're actually really stupid. And it just reminded me of that. Like, and obviously now we've got these Epstein files and we see what they're doing in person, and the games they play, and it's kind of, well, maybe Donald Marshall is not so crazy, and maybe the cloning files are going to get dropped in like 10 years time. that Overton Windows is going to keep shifting to crazier and crazier, because we know they want to bring out eventually consciousness transference technology, right? Because they want to live forever in machines, or live forever as gods among humans, and need to reach that singularity in the transhuman world. But to get the public to accept that this is happening, maybe they'll have to leak a file about, well, they've already kind of been doing this for a long time, these evil people who we've now exposed, and most of them are dead, but we've arrested the few that were still alive. But now this technology we discovered that they have, we can use for ourselves now, you know? Maybe that's the story. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I don't know. You heard it here first. I'm just spitballing. I don't know. I'm just imagining scenarios here because something's off in the air. That pressure's dropped and that storm's about to come. I can feel it. And I don't know what it's going to... I'm not saying like the end of the world thing. I'm not saying like this is going to be I mean like a change is coming, a shift. Because the people have changed. And they really have. This is the people have changed and the reason is terrifying video, you know. They're just going through like normal political normie explanations in their videos. I'm giving you the schizo stuff here. Okay, so look, who knows? Like, I think people have changed because they've been psychologically traumatized. That's what's happened here. And when people have PTSD or trauma, when things trigger them, they tend not to behave right. They can lash out and behave in ways that are not conducive to a productive civilization, shall we say. They can basically do anything they can to self-medicate, to soothe, to avoid the problem, to bury their head in the sand, or lash out, or falsely put the blame somewhere else, or desperately try to regain some kind of control of their life, so they end up doing something drastic to their own life and so forth. Now, if everybody collectively started doing this, then we are going to see some kind of change or collapse in some way of the way things function in civilization. Now that the power structure has been externalized and we now can see it fully for what it is, you know, something has to change. Something does have to change. And if we aren't going to remove these evil people from positions of power, then the way we live with them is going to be the next thing that we have to figure out and work with. And that's, most people are going to apathetically choose to just live with it and find ways to cope. This is kind of what I see. This is the way it's going. And in the UK, we've had kind of like a early reaction to this, and I made a video, a random rumination yesterday morning about this, about the sudden revealing of Rupert Lowe, a long-standing MP for Greater Yarmouth, you know. Yarmouth, is that it? Maybe I've got that wrong. But he used to be a football manager as well for Bournemouth Bournemouth FC, was he? I think I'm learning more and more about this guy as time goes on. And everyone keeps telling me he's an Israel sympathizer as well and not to be trusted. I don't know much about him. I really don't. Maybe he is. Probably, right? They all seem to be at some level in politics. But he's now positioned himself as like this staunch, saying all the things the British public really want to hear right now, because if we don't do what he's saying, then we really have lost our country type of stuff, you know. Mass deportations, you know, and going hardcore into it, anti-socialist, anti-social justice warriors stuff, you know, trans men in women's bathrooms stuff, saying all these things, and really feeding on that portion of the population that is really fed up now. We're done. Like, we can't take this anymore, like any more of this, and we know it's the end. And I do feel like he's just suddenly come out and saying all these things that people want to hear, and it's rallying around him as though he's going to win. He's going to become the next leader of the UK. And you got like big endorsements coming from like Elon Musk and channels like Asmongold, who has millions of subscribers. And I'm not saying he's like controlled. I don't know. But when you have that much weight and clout and you're talking about it regularly, then you're giving this guy free advertising, you know what I mean, in a big way. And he has just suddenly swelled up out of nowhere. His party has just gained like 60 to 70,000 members or something in like 3 days, which is unprecedented. That's unbelievably fast. That doesn't happen. That hasn't happened before. And it's kind of showing that, oh, this could be our guy. This is the man, you know, giving this pressure release hope to the populace, it seems. So he's going to change everything and reverse it all. And, you know, probably not. That's the truth. Probably not. But people right now who are reacting, who aren't thinking about long-term agendas at play here, are just riding this wave with like this glee behind them, this mindless glee of like, this is it. We're gonna take back our country and everything, you know. And I think someone left a comment who I don't think understood what I was saying and thought I like believe in the system or something like this, because I was saying language like, I want to believe this. My flesh is telling me that this is a great and wonderful, but the Holy Spirit's pulling me back and saying, oh no, wait a second, you know. And I really don't think they understood what I was doing. Of course, I'm listening to the Holy Spirit first, and I don't believe in governmental systems, no matter who's in power. I don't think governments can be changed from within or anything like this. The whole system is Babylon and corrupt. Of course, I know that and believe that. I have no uncertainty about this. I'm going to always watch. I'm probably not going to participate for these reasons because it's all fruitless and pointless, and my kingdom is in heaven, not of this world. I get all that. But the way I'm talking in my videos is to get to those people who are not yet fully for Christ and understand that he's the only way, the truth, and the life, and you should not put your faith in men. So I'm speaking their language. Do you not understand? Like, I have a big platform here with like 117,000 like subscribers. Not so many of those watch all my videos, but the point is there's weight behind the things I say, and you have to say things in a way that's going to appeal to a broader audience to get them to that point. I'm trying my best here, and I always point them to Christ. But I said the things I know people are feeling. Even many Christians who are feeling like, I want to back this guy and I want him to make the changes he's saying he's going to make. Okay, and that's what people are feeling. I know it is. So I'm speaking that way with them, saying I understand that feeling. But, and that's what most of my videos are, I start off explaining the way people see things and the way people feel about things, and then I give a but. This is understanding conspiracy. So let's get into why you should be thinking about this. That's what I do. But many people, because they're always reacting rather than, you know, just listening and taking it in and thinking, they see the title or the thumbnail and they just knee-jerk. Say, no, you're wrong. Screw you. Like, watch the bloody video first. Don't condemn me. Or at least learn to understand nuance or something. Or like, try and see it from my perspective a little bit, you know. But again, think these type of topics and these things that are happening right now are so divisive and contentious that you cannot talk about this without the bots coming out with the basic response that you're supposed to have from the programming, you know, and then you have the people who are angry and pissed off and upset that you would dare to even assume or have an opinion like yours, because mine is the opposite. And then you get most of the people are like, yeah, you're right, fair enough, you know. But there's a war happening in every comment section now of every video I make because everyone's so divided on the right way to deal with these problems. And I'm sat back saying, well, this is probably not the right way. The arguing is not the right way. And I think they want us doing this. I think this is all chaos, and confusion is their bread and butter. They make order from chaos. That's what they're going. These are chaos magicians, as they like to think of themselves, you know. And they're doing it, you know. And even if they are dumb, like, it doesn't take a genius to knock a few toys over, you know what I mean, to break stuff. Like, it's much easier to break something than it is to build it, and these people are in the business of breaking things, and that's how they get their power, and they are breaking things. That much is obvious. Anyway, I've been ranting for like 51 minutes, and it is getting hot now, so I can take this off. tends to be what happens. It starts off cold, and then the temperature rises like gas, and just go on and on and on. So I'm gonna loosen up, have a bit of water, and you've got me guys in the chat for a little bit, and then we'll take a quick break. He said 17. I knew Paul was Q. That went way over my head. I don't know about the Q stuff. I don't care about it. I just know it's some kind of fake truth and movement used as a pressure release valve to keep people hopelessly hopeful that the guy they're backing is the guy when he's not. I'm pretty sure that's all it was, right? Did I summarize that right? I think I did. Thank you, UC. Seriously, you're one of the few that make any sense whatsoever. Love from New York, says 1000 Aces. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad this means something. Donald Marshall got smoked. He's not here anymore. And the Disney kid, Orlando Brown, has been the most vocal about the human copies factory. Okay, well, I'll look into that. But again, it's been a while since I've done the Donald Marshall thing. It's a shame he's gone, but if he was telling the truth, then can we be surprised? But I mean, I don't know. I was never sure about Donald because he had a lot of Gnostic views as well, and he talked about the Vril and the lizard people, and there's a lot of stuff going on there, which is, I think, if he wasn't deceived himself and just parroting the beliefs of his controllers, then he was a deceiver, saying things that were unequivocally false as well, in Antichrist. So you have to, like, I got to take it all with a pinch of salt, you know. But if he was a victim, I'm sorry, and I pray for him, you know. Even their mind and conscience is defiled, Titus 1:15. Oh yeah, more than that. These people are psychopathic weirdos at the finest. That's what we already knew this. People in like the conspiracy culture, we've been saying this for like 20 years at least, longer. You know, I've been doing this for at least 14 years, like 11 years, something like that. And this is not new. These are not new revelations. They are just suddenly now mainstream. And this is what I was talking about when I said we're hitting a truth of singularity. All things are going to be known, and everybody to some level is kind of going to know what the truth is now. And this, when I released that, it coincided with this dump of Epstein files. So I wasn't wrong. I think it was maybe like a week or two after I made that theory. This all kicked off, maybe a month or so. Because this is the point. Like, yeah, there's going to be it's the case now where it's reached a point where they can't contain it anymore. So they're going to have to control the release. And that's what we're in the midst of. We're in the middle of it now. And yeah, everybody already kind of knew. And now everyone knows. So what are people going to do? And it seems like go along to get along. Compliance, suppression, denial is the main thing that seems to be taking over slowly. We'll just meme this thing to death and then move on because we've got bills to pay. We'll see, but we'll see. Well, honestly, I don't know. I don't know exactly how it's all going to go down, but it doesn't look good, does it? It's so they can push everyone back to religious nationalism. I mean, that's the Rupert Lowe thing. Well, yeah, I have already talked about this again in that video. There is a long-term plan here to get Christians to, or at least the West, to get dragged into this war in the Middle East on religious grounds. The whole point of it being on religious grounds is because they want to point to religion as the cause and problem that needs to remove from the earth of the death and destruction that follows. And to get Christianity to get into the war with the Jews and the Muslims, they need to antagonize them through unfettered third world migration of Muslim nations. Get them to react to the horrors those nations cause in their homelands. Regain a sense of self-identity as a Christian nationalist after decades of telling them they have no national identity, knowing eventually they would seek one. But because they've been complete and totally inundated with atheism for the better part of like 60 years, if not longer, they don't know or understand Christianity or religion as well as a nation collectively should. So that what they do is they default to what they believe Christianity is and should be, which is the warlike Catholic Deus Vult. Let's go take back the Holy Lands of Jerusalem type of Christianity. And those people who fall into that don't really read the Bible or don't really know the words of Christ and are only culturally Christians, and those are the ones you can get to go and fight very easily. And in their own minds, justifiably so, we're just taking back what's rightfully ours and taking the fight to them for what they did to us, right? So now you've got Christians fighting the Muslims and the Jews, and then once that war happens and millions of people die and cities get wiped off the face of the earth, it's just a horrible situation, all concentrated into the Middle East that drags in all the countries, you know. At the end of it, they can all say, look at what those 3 Abrahamic-based religion faiths did to the world. Monotheism has killed us all. Like, it's just terrible, and we need to get rid of it, right? Right? But everyone's like, well, what were we supposed to worship? You know, it's like, well, maybe we're all God, man, collectively. Maybe we're all just like one consciousness, you know? And that's when that religion gets spread as a replacement. But again, to get those Christians to fight, they need to get that army and to make it look Christian, you know. And so I think Rupert Lowe, his idea would be to kind of lead that charge towards a nationalist British identity thing, which will then get coupled with Christianity, cultural Christianity. And that's where you'll get your army. That's where you'll get your army. Is Rupert Lowe the guy that's going to make that happen? I don't know, but I know there's an agenda there to make that happen. So we have to look out. He could be the one that's going to instigate and start all this. The next 5 years could be insane. Changes all over the place and bombshell political upheavals of Britain. You know, who knows how it's going to go? But we're at that point and that precipice where something is about to change and we can all feel it. Something's in the air. We can all feel it, right? And I'm not a date setter. I don't know when or what day it's all going to kick off. But that feeling happened, I mentioned at the start. The pressure changed. The cold fronts come in and rain's about to follow. Something's about to happen. And, you know, rain is not always a bad thing. It's chaos while it's there, but afterwards, the plants are watered, new growth comes, and the rest of it, you know, so I'm not necessarily, it's all terrible, but I also don't want to be someone who's seen as supporting the whole, well, chaos, Phoenix rising from the ashes, New World Order stuff. No, I don't want that either. I think when it rains, just go inside and keep to yourself and wait for it to pass, okay? Don't fight the rain. Don't fight an act of God as though we can have any control over it, or don't live in fear as well of something we can shield ourselves from, in a sense, because a lot of this is all hinging on the ability to brainwash us and to get us to give into the programming and to give into fear. So I would say, you know, no fear. Don't fear the rain. Just go inside. Whatever that means metaphorically when it applies to the system. And whatever's going to happen. My wife, I'm not sure it took the files for anyone to know that. No, it didn't. It just made it... The files made it hard for anybody to deny it. That's what the files did. The rumours, yeah. Let me scroll down here. Nate X, the original, $2. I love you all that volunteered to be here to guide. Well, thanks, Nate. I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate the support. I don't need new friends. All I need is my comics. The world's gone mad, Paul. YouTube is the new illuminate health of Hollywood. Yeah. YouTube definitely has a lot of shady characters on it. I'm sure we've all seen them here and there. But, you know, I think God can use anything for his own purpose. And there's some good people on YouTube as well. And it's up to us to discern and judge by the fruits of whether somebody is or is not good or bad. And yeah, that's it. And obviously, no one's good, not one of them technically. But if you get these people who profess Christ out there, that can only be a good thing. But obviously, just be aware of any wolves in sheep's clothing while you're at it, and just use your discernment. But my advice is, you know, never hinge on, and this is bad advice because I'm a YouTuber, but never hinge on the words of a YouTuber as gospel fact about anything. Go out there and do your own research. And if anyone's telling you they know it all and what they believe is 100% the correct thing, and if you don't believe what I believe, then you're evil or in some way controlled, or definitely like somebody who just shouldn't have a platform, then that person probably is suspect, and you should wonder why they have such a vitriolic attitude towards disagreement. People disagree with me all the time. I have a laugh with them. You should read some of the comments and responses I give to people. You know, I don't take it personally because they don't know me. personally, and they're just venting their opinions, and fair enough. Yeah, do it. You disagree with me, well, I disagree with you. What do we do now? Like, I'm not looking to make an enemy out of you because you disagree with me, but some people are. Some people out there on YouTube really do make enemies out of people who disagree with them. And I never take a disagreement personally. Unless you make it personal and you start talking about me in some horrible way, then I'm like, well, screw you, you're blocked. Fine. It's my YouTube channel. I'll block if I want to. We reserve the right to Holy Spirit backspace when needed. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good technique. I've used that one quite a lot recently. I've been Holy Spirit backspacing a lot. And in fact, I had this huge response to a comment on my channel, right? And this has never happened before, okay? Because it was on my laptop and the tab was open. And I was writing out this big response, and for some reason, the site crashed before I could hit enter, and I hadn't copied it or anything during the process. It was like a paragraph this long, and the site crashed. And he went, "Oh snap!" And he's like, "Oh, just refresh the page. It should come back. Something went wrong." And I'm like, that has never happened before when I'm about to respond with a comment I put a lot of time into. There was no reason for it either. And for some reason, my laptop was red hot as well at that time. But that one tab broke. And that wasn't me, Holy Spirit, backspacing. That was the Holy Spirit backspacing. That was for sure. Because now I think about it, if I had sent that message, I don't think it would have brought anything good into my life or anyone's life, to be honest. So yeah, it does happen. It does happen. My wife has also done a lot of Holy Spirit backspacing lately too. God bless her. It's not easy. It's not easy, especially with some of the things we're up against. What makes you believe that the order of the Watchers fall in corporeal form, human-looking, capable of mating, was dragon-like? Because, well, have you read my book? It tells you on there. Every culture all around the earth has dragons intimately linked with or involved with giants or the creation of civilizations in the ancient past. And the Watchers were the ones that taught mankind how to create things and build civilization. So dragons were the ones that did that. And I think that's because they were the seraphim angels, which are the fiery flying serpents. That's what seraphim means, which were the closest to God, who sung holy, holy, holy around his throne. Now look, angels come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and there's many variations. There's probably like more bird-like ones, more insectoid ones, but animalistic tendencies seems to be what a lot of angels tend to have. But they're also shapeshifters, so an angel can take human form, but they have the ultimate form, which is the core element form that they are. And the seraphim looked like dragons, primarily, okay? So when they first descended, they were dragon-like, and their nature is serpentine, but they can also manifest and use avatars and all sorts of things and manipulate with our world in ways we just can't comprehend and even appear as human. So that's why. That's why. And I think when they mixed themselves with human women, it was to create a serpent hybrid human race, specifically. I think the serpents is what they were going for. And they believe the serpent should have been the superior race over humanity and should have had the rights to the earth. But God just chose Adam, one of these men that these Watchers had been looking after like cattle for so long, And it's like God would choose one of these lesser beings to be the king of the earth and name the animals over us, the superior serpent being. Are we not his sons too, And that's where the rebellion kicked off. That was the original rebellion against God. And that's when the plan was made to usurp the thrones and put the serpent race, or the Nephilim, into positions of power. So you tend to find in other mythologies all over the earth, Greek mythology is a good one. People like Zeus and Poseidon were basically raping the daughters of kings and pretending to be, through shapeshifting, the king while the king was away, to have sex with his wife and impregnate her, to legitimately birth heirs to the throne through blood right, because it's the son of a queen. Who's to deny him his right to rule, And then he becomes this monstrous giant. Like it becomes this clown-looking, freaky-looking thing that has insatiable appetites that can't be quenched, and it becomes an absolute mess. And then before you know it, by like 8 generations, well, maybe not even that, like 4 generations from Jared, the entire earth is controlled by, dominated by serpent sun worship, Nephilim cults, and pantheon god worshipping cults, and the whole earth is just corrupt and bloody and awful and a mess. And that was the point. That's a part of the rebellion, the plan to destroy God's creation. And God saved humanity through Noah and destroyed the infrastructure of the old world system through a flood. Hit the reset button, basically, and saved his creation. Here we are today. And the Bible's an incredible story in that context, isn't it? And our redemption from sin began a long time ago. And we went through so much even after the flood to even get to Christ, for him to finish the work, to give us a way back to the Father since we got kicked out of Eden. It's one hell of a story. But that's why I think they were serpentine in nature. So there we go. I've done like you have recommended before and have been taking in less media and just trying to focus on caring for my family. I still have felt a sense of I have still felt a sense of a depressive atmosphere. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's coming from like everybody, not just like people like us who know too much and dwell in these things. I feel like everybody kind of knows now, and I think that's what's causing this feeling I'm sensing. And I think the blinders are coming off a lot of people as well about just how far gone we are and how bad things actually are. I think they're no longer, because they can't trust the people on the news telling them everything's okay anymore. The politicians telling them that, there's going to be growth and everything's going to be wonderful and don't worry about it. Free markets. And it's kind of, they've unplugged from the matrix and they're finally seeing just how much of a mess everything actually is and how they can't fall back on these men to tell them the truth, because the truth has come out that they're all liars and scumbags. So it's kind of everyone now, I don't think they know what to do, which is why there's been a huge resurgence of Christianity as well, which is a good thing. But then that resurgence of Christianity, people going back to God after seeing pure evil, is also being funneled and corralled and herded into the nationalist Christians army that they want to build. So even that's being controlled too. And you have to wonder if this was also part of the plan. Reveal evil so they turn to God, but corral them in the wrong direction through false shepherds into the army we need to go and fight this Third World War. That seems like problem, reaction, solution solidified from their perspective. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, guys, I'm going to take a quick break because if it's over the hour now, I'll play some music for you guys. Let me just get some slideshow going, get some of this, and I'll play my song again that I wrote recently, just while I get a quick drink of water, and then I'll be back with you guys in about 2 minutes. It doesn't take long, 2 minutes. So here we go. Well, that didn't work, did it? Give me a second. Something's wrong. There we go. Switch to headphones. And I think the problem is my audio capture needs to be restarted. There we go. Let me try this again. Yes, this is one of my songs, guys. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, so bear with me. Okay, there we go. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I haven't like finished that song. Maybe I have. I'm just gonna leave it like I'll probably never even record another version of that ever again. It took like 6 attempts. I got that version. I left it and thought I'll try again maybe next week. And then I got ill, and I've never had a chance to record it again since. And you know, when you got 2 kids and very little quiet time to yourself, it's hard to find time to do such a thing. But maybe I'll do another pass one day. Maybe I'll make another. Maybe I'll add some extra instruments in there one day. I don't know. But right now, that's one of my latest songs that I'm still kind of working on. But I hope you enjoy that one. I don't really have a name for it now. I don't know what to call it. Experimental new song second pass is currently what it's labeled. Something like that. Great tune. I love this song. Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. I remembered that Albert Pike wrote about the Third World Wars in the late 1800s to join the nihilists, Islam, Jewry, and Christianity to the battle. Yes, the Celts are Hebrews. I have said that ad nauseum on pretty much every video I've released in the past 2 months, because that's what's happening right now. We're in the middle of it coming to fruition. That's for sure. Do it in an English accent next time. That is my accent. Trust me. That's how I sing. And I do the northern English accent does come through every now and then. Like quite strong. This music is very enjoyable. Good. I'm glad you like it. That's good. It's good to see. I'm sure someone said something. A question here. Paul, from the beginning of the live, why would announcing the existence of aliens cause a financial collapse? Says Refine the Fire. I wasn't saying that was the case. Like, did you not? Maybe you should watch from the start. I was talking about how the atmosphere in the world is changing right now, and how the coming alien invasion is looming in the background, according to mainstream media. And I showed an article I found a month ago from an ex. I think she was a banker or something like this, who was warning the new person in control of the money in England, in the government, to plan for the possibility of instability if aliens suddenly get announced by America. So she's implying like America's going to start talking about aliens soon, and if that does happen, the system could collapse, and she gives all these reasons why. And the newspapers have graciously given us all the reasons she decided to tell this guy, because they want us to think about these concepts. It's programming. That's all I was saying. I'm not saying the world or system would collapse if that happened. I'm just saying she's trying to lay this programming foundational idea down that any minute now, guys, aliens are going to get announced. You know, the system doesn't necessarily have to collapse because of it, though. I wasn't saying that. She was. Like, I was just reading the article and thought the timing of it was funny. That's all. You sound like you're from Alabama. Well, it's because I do have inspiration from a lot of bluegrass music. I like bluegrass. I like folk music. I like blues, you know, and soul and the rest of it. And that kind of does bleed into my music. I have some people I'm inspired by, musicians and so forth, that often are in my music as a direct inspiration to, who are American or Canadian or from all over the place, to be honest. And a lot of my music is like an amalgam of all my inspirations throughout time. That's what artists are and what they do. So yeah, maybe some American twangs do come through. That's because I appreciate the auditory sound of that style, which I have picked up from those people I enjoy listening to. So if that does come through, so be it. I'm not going to change it. That's who I am. I'm sorry, I know you weren't saying it. Okay, predictive programming. I think it all comes down to predictive programming. If it's in the media, that's pretty much what it always is. If it's coming from legacy media, then it's probably predictive programming. You should always just start with that a priori assumption like, before you go ahead and start like deducing it from reason and evidence. Like, and the evidence will tend to probably lead to justify that a priori assumption. So that seems to be always the case. Like, and I'm not just doing that because I'm bad at deducing information. It just really is usually the case. And when you know how as much as we understand about the agendas of what aliens are useful for, you can. It's pretty black and white. It's pretty easy, to be honest. Paul, in America, everyone believes in aliens and not Christ. We're cooked, bro. I don't know. the programming for the aliens has been heavy. Yeah, it has been heavy. And obviously the heliocentric vast infinite universes full of millions and millions and billions of galaxies and planets message has definitely primed people for that, along with Star Trek and Star Wars and every single movie involving space travel that's been around for the past 100 years, and then the alien invasion movies on top of that. Everyone is pretty much prepped and believes that aliens will turn up eventually and will colonize Mars with the rest of it, you know, all these little tidbits here and there. But I feel like a lot of it will fall away very quickly when aliens actually turn up. Because there is and always has been a loud voice screaming in the background as loud as we can. It's demons, bro. And I think and right now, aliens are a fun idea, a fun concept to their day-to-day monotonous 9-to-5 grind. It's this novelty that's going to end the 9-to-5 grind. But the reality of aliens actually appearing won't just be simple in their brain, because in the back of their mind, slogged away and compressed, is that file of my voice saying it's demons, bro, they heard once somewhere, maybe in their like 30 years of life or whatever it is, or like at some point, you know, they've heard it somewhere, one of us screaming it on the streets, and then doubt will kick in very quickly, and they're like, wait a minute, is it aliens? Is this real? I heard something about a fake alien invasion. Like, what could it be? I think we should give some people more credit than we do sometimes. I think people are smarter than we know. And God's in control fundamentally. Yeah, just because they have an agenda to make us believe aliens are invading us doesn't mean they're going to convince us aliens are actually invading us. So that's I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm a hopeless optimist. Maybe I'm a fool. Maybe I am. I don't know. We'll see. Why do you think houses, cars, and buildings seem to go into disrepair so much more quickly after they're abandoned? Something to do with the lack of living soul being inside? That's a really good point, MK Ryan. I actually commented on this very recently with my wife as well, because there's a lot of abandoned stuff where I live, you know, and empty shop fronts and the rest of it. And yeah, they do. When there's no one around, they very, very, very quickly just get overrun by nature and fall apart, don't they? And it's kind of like, how? Because I know that person who like lived in that house for 80 years of their life, did very little to upkeep the exterior, if anything at all. But now suddenly they've moved out, the bricks are falling off, and it's just like the drain pipe's cracked and suddenly crooked, and like the antenna that for the analog signal they used to pick up is now fallen off and rusted. And it's kind of what. It wasn't like that the entire life I was growing up and they were living in it until no one was actually living in it anymore. And I think that you could attribute a lot of it to, you know, general upkeep. They were just upkeeping the house in little bits here and there that you didn't see. But it seems so extreme, doesn't it, just how quickly these things like fall apart. And I do wonder, maybe you're right. Maybe it's something to do with the energy of a soul living in a home. That does something to the home. It makes it a home. It makes it a dwelling place that lasts, you know. I don't know. Maybe. He could be onto something there. The housing right now is an interesting topic for me, because me and my wife are contemplating trying to get back into the housing market and finding something bigger for our family, because, you know, we're growing. We're 4 people, and our children are sharing a room, and it's not ideal. You know, I've got this tiny little box office, thank God, so I can work and do this. But we need something we can grow into as adults with our children, something bigger that we can feel like we actually settled down in, and actually is ours and we live in, you know. And obviously the housing market is an absolute mess. Prices and properties are way overpriced and overvalued, because foreign investors have been buying up the houses in the UK and renting them back to us. So there's scarcity on the market, which drives up housing prices. And then, of course, you have the immigration situation, which has caused a housing shortage. Again, thousands of people competing for one house at a time, which drives up prices because there's competition. So houses have been significantly overvalued, way beyond what they're actually worth, which has priced younger generations like myself and Gen Z completely out of the market. And we're not even allowed to get the loans because the interest rates have skyrocketed since COVID, just after COVID. And now it seems like it's just completely out of reach. It's impossible for us. And I feel like when it comes down to it, we could blame like immigration and the rest of it. And yeah, that's certainly played a factor. But I think also greed has been a major issue here. People are just want the money. But I think fundamentally the core problem, what it really comes down to, is people don't view houses as homes for families. People started viewing houses as investment opportunities and capital. That has to change, because people, like, that's a home is a place a family can grow and live and experience and have a base and put down roots. And it's an important integral part of existence for human beings, a home. And that's what houses should be seen as, a necessity that has far more importance than it's the value of the bricks, okay? And how that can grow over time and how you can profit from it. And because now that houses are treated that way in the UK by mass investment firms and banks who are buying up houses and the rest of it, it's destroying families. It's destroying everything, and it won't change until there's a collective mindset change that homes are not things to buy and sell for profits. They are things people live in to build homes and families. Okay, greed and covetousness has basically destroyed the entire market. But it seems right now interest rates have come down a little bit and are slowly going down, and so are house prices, because they were so artificially inflated way beyond any reasonable price, and because sadly there's twofold factor here. Because of new legislative changes in the UK, landlords can no longer have the power to remove tenants when there's problems. Landlords have decided, because the outcome of that is too costly for them, because while tenants refuse to pay rent, they cannot legally kick them out anymore. Okay? So they have to go through a process of hiring a lawyer, and it can take up to a year to get them out of the house, while they are having to pay the mortgage payments which the renter would have paid, because they don't own the property yet. So in the end, they cannot afford to rent properties anymore. The banks can, who are going to buy that off them, obviously, but the mum and dad companies, the ma and pa companies, who just have a few houses, who make the living off these renting, that's a disaster, not being able to kick them out if the renter doesn't pay up or destroys the property and the rest of it. So a lot of landlords have decided just to sell, rather than deal with all this red tape bureaucracy that's coming down the pipeline. So the market is now flooded with new properties, which has brought house prices down because there's no longer a scarcity problem. And the other issue is why house prices are coming down so much right now. Nobody can afford to buy them because they're so artificially, ridiculously inflated. And people who need them, young people like me, who have families, can't get the mortgage and can't afford the monthly repayments because that house, which is currently going for £270,000, 10 years ago went for 150. People are still trying to make £75,000 profits on houses they bought 3 years ago. It's kind of like the greed is off the charts. It's kind of like, all right, set your prices that high, watch your house sit there and rot for months because nobody's going to buy it. And that's what's been happening. They've been sat there too long now. So people are being forced to lower their prices because there's more demand, more choice. So why should we go for your crappy overpriced house when that one over there is, you have to compete for prices now for the ever shrinking pool of buyers. I would like to be in that ever shrinking pool of buyers right now while interest rates are going down and house prices are dropping before that suddenly gets ripped out from under us. There's like a window of opportunity suddenly just opened up for first time buyers in the UK. And me and the wife are observing it and thinking like this might be our chance. So housing has been on my mind, and as a result, I'm watching a lot of streets and I see a lot of empty houses. A lot of houses sitting there aren't selling, and yeah, they're decaying quickly. You're right, that really is happening. But yeah, that whole thing is an absolute mess. Like the British housing market is a mess, and you look at the government solutions, and they're all like, oh, we're just going to build 300,000 new houses every year to keep up with demand. New builds. So we're going to take up all the land. We're going to use all the green spaces. We're going to squeeze houses anywhere we can, and we're going to build more houses is the solution. It's like, that's not the solution. We don't need a shit ton of like crappy new builds that are going to fall apart in no time. What you need to do is get all the illegals out of our country and those who have come over here to live in our country and not contribute, because they are literally flooding, overloading our tiny island, and there's just not enough properties. And also you need to stop foreign investors and big banks from buying up properties too, in large swaths, to rent back to people at extreme premiums. Stop doing that, there won't be a housing crisis. But what they want to do is put a tiny little plaster on a huge, gaping, bleeding, pus-filled wound, rather than actually doing what needs to be done to fix the problem, you know? So that's what our country is like and has been like for a long time, and it's only getting worse, which is why people like Rupert Lowe are suddenly getting very popular, by the way. These sentiments I'm talking about are all British sentiments we're all feeling at our core. Our country and our future is being stolen from us, and we need to do something about it now. And this is a simple problem, you know, homes, like keeping a roof over your head, and it's a big deal, but it's like a first world problem to have to deal with. But we're also currently dealing with rape and murder from a specific demographic, you know what I mean, on a mass scale that shouldn't be happening. That could have been avoided if they hadn't done what they had done. So, you know, when you're living these experiences, you get angry and you want solutions. So when Rupert Lowe's appear and start saying all these things, we can't help, while we're in the thick of the shit, to think, finally someone's saying something. Someone with actually some sway and power might actually help us. And that's, you know, this is how they work. They give us our leaders and our saviors, don't they? Because they don't want us to react in the right way. Sorry, the wrong way from their perspective. We have to react in the right way. So they give us people to make us feel like we have someone on our side advocating for us for a little while. But then as it fizzles out and the hype dies down, they'll probably turn out to be just another puppet doing the same thing that anyone's ever done. And we're now 5 years further down the line and have less freedoms than ever. Because we thought this person was the one. And I'm jaded. I'm jaded. I'm sorry, I am. This is how I feel about this type of thing. My cousin lives like a gypsy. She says a house is a slave trap. Yes, it kind of is. It depends how much money you earn as well. For the wealthy, it's not. It's not a big deal. But when you are living on minimum wage, yes, absolutely, it's a trap. It's not feasible. You are better off not buying property. But if you've got money, say you came into like an inheritance or something, then yes, buy a property and keep it sound and safe as yours and use it as an inheritance for your children in the future and pass it down. Tell them not to sell it. Let them live in it. Keep it going, you know, because in this world, those type of things are rare right now, and ownership of property is going to get less and less and less. And I don't think like God wants us to be poor necessarily, or destitute or homeless. I'm not a prosperity gospel type of guy, but I think he looks after his own, and don't turn your nose up at an opportunity when it arises, you know. But yeah, it depends on your financial circumstances for sure. My wife, we still won't be able to buy, I bet. Yeah, they'll probably still refuse us because I'm self-employed. That's another problem as well. The standards on someone who earns their own money is way higher than somebody who takes wages from a company. Way higher. They want more from us to give us permission for a loan. And I'm not excited at the prospect of getting a large loan, but I do want a better home for my family. So it's kind of it's one of those, it's a catch-22, isn't it? BlackRock is sucking up houses like a vacuum. Oh yeah, they are, absolutely. The banks are always to blame for everything and always have been. They create fiat currency out of debt to begin with that can never be paid back. It's a Ponzi scheme that goes on forever and ever and ever, and we just get further and further into inflation, debt-based societies that just get worse and worse and worse until there's a huge collapse and reset, and then they create a brand new Ponzi-based, debt-based currency where every pound that's created requires 2% interest on top of it, so they can never actually get out of debt no matter what you do or how much money you print. Like, it's always just, and then you sell debt and it becomes this really horrible, weird system that's impossible to break, That is just confusing by design and impossible to live with by design too. What are your thoughts? J Dreamers, thanks by the way. This is from J Dreamers. What are your thoughts from an artist's perspective and a conspiracy theorist perspective on the Garbage Pail Kids trading cards? I think they were just a little bit before my time. I don't really know much about them. I'm not gonna lie, J Dreamers, but I've seen bits here and there, and aren't they basically like caricatures of stereotypes? Is that the Garbage Pail Kids, or were they like extremely gross characters or something? I can't remember, but I feel like I was just before my time. I was born in '92, so maybe if I was born in like the mid '80s, I would remember that kind of thing, but I don't, unfortunately. Garbage Pail Kids came out in June 1985, immediately after Pharma was given blanket immunity for certain products. Coincidental timing, but still sad. Yeah, so is the Garbage Pail Kids supposed to represent like abandoned babies in dumpsters? Is that what it's supposed to represent? Because if it is, that's really cruel and horrible and sadistic and weird that was even marketed to children. I don't know. Living in poverty, Jesus said, "Indeed, I am amazed at how this great wealth has made its home in this poverty." Fair enough. Thomas 29. Thomas 29 question mark. Is that just something you just made up there, Dean Johnson? I'm confused what the argument here, what's going on here. Even when you can afford the mortgage and it's less than your current rent, they refuse you. They do. This is what I mean. You got this system. It's like people are paying like $2,000 or pounds in rent every month, maybe 1,500. So a stupid amount of money for rent, you know. And then you go for a mortgage and it's got like a 3-4% interest rate. And your monthly repayments on that, or spread out over 25 years, will be about maybe 1,200 or maybe 1,000. 500 less, maybe $1,000 less than what you're currently paying in rent. And the banks will still say, no, you can't afford that, and then deny you the loan and put a mark on your credit score forever as a result. And it's like, what the hell, man? Like, what do you? I thought you wanted debt slaves. Just give me the damn money and let me get a house already, right? I don't know. But yeah, it's a messed up system. I finally gave up buying a house, says Choppers, Sluggers, and Shooters. Bought a 30-foot travel trailer. Yeah, cool. Good for you. Nobody takes wealth from this world into the next. That's true. My niece got my inheritance. How about the Illuminati game cards, first printed in '94? And they are mind-blowing. 9/11, Twin Towers, Pentagon, Donald Trump, Flat Earth. They tell them themselves. They do. No, yeah, well, yeah. The Illuminati playing cards. Is it Steve Jackson? Is that the guy who made them? Yeah, they are very telling. There's so much on there, and when they were created, didn't the guy's apartment get raided by the FBI as well, and all sorts of things? He was like one of these people who was in the know about some stuff because he went to some of these parties and capitalized off it by making a game. I think he may have said a bit too much. I think that's probably how that went down. That's what happened to me, Paul. Thankfully, I live in my dad's house now, and he lives with his fiance. I'm very blessed to be able to afford the mortgage, says Annabelle Albion. Yeah, it's rough in England for housing. You've got to do things a lot differently than how we were promised it would go down growing up. You know, that world doesn't exist anymore. Ian James channel, thanks for the super chat, £20. Did you ever come across the Basis project in James Cosbolt, the super soldier? That rings a bell, Ian. It rings a bell. I'm gonna have to look into that at your recommendation now as a reminder. Thanks for letting me know. I'll just copy and paste that so I don't forget into a tab. And I will look into this afterwards. James Casbolt. So he's a small YouTube channel. Super Soldier, Michael Prince, aka James Casbolt from Tinfoil Hat Man. Okay, I found the interview here. I will listen to this 2.5 hour interview on 3 speed when I get a chance. Okay, I will do it as soon as I get an actual chance. But I don't. It's hard for me these days to listen to much content. But yeah, thanks for the recommendation. I'll look into it. To be fair, it's because they stress test, so you have to be able to afford more than the mortgage in case it all goes up. Yeah. I mean, banks aren't just going to lend out that much money unless they know they're going to get it back. They're not in the business of just handing out money, that's for sure. But still, someone made a great recommendation in a comment on some video where I don't know where, but they were like, why the hell don't they have this system in place where they can track you for 5 years and your rent payments to see if you ever missed a rent payment and just how much rent you were paying? And if you have like a 5 years worth or maybe 3 years worth of paying rent at a certain price, you can use that as evidence that you can afford the repayments on the mortgage. Like that should be a standard that you can set, you know, on top of them doing the credit checks and everything else. But that's just not a thing in the UK. But maybe they should. That would be a good way, wouldn't it? His apartment was, but because he was working on a game called Hacker, Illuminati was a great game. I never played it. I never played it myself. I think that was more of an American thing than a UK thing, to be honest. My question, how would you explain the mud flood wiping out old civilization? How did the animals survive and the tribes across all the continents? Has that comment just disappeared? The mud flood comment. Did that get removed? Did a moderator remove that or something? I don't know. Well, I've seen it now. If you haven't looked into the mud flood stuff, I don't think it was literal floods of mud. I think it was more volcanic ash coming down after the darkness period, which buried things here and there gently and slowly. And I think a lot of people did die during that time period because it was the end of the Great Tribulation. And I think what was left was some remnants of survival here and there, some animals here and there, a mini ice age that soon followed, but then there was the resurrection of the saints and the millennial reign of Christ that kind of took over and came out of that, the ashes. And many buildings were buried to varying degrees of waves and forms and depths. I don't think it was literally mud just flooding around everywhere, displacing people and causing chaos. I think it was a slow, gentle burying of everything through ash going down and then rain solidifying it and turning it into mud. I think that's more likely it. Ice Christ. Heard of Christ consciousness and sacred secretion? Yes, it's bullshit. There's an Illuminate card that's in that game called The Moderates. The man depicted looks exactly like Ben Habib of Advance. Interesting. Okay, give me a minute. I'm gonna look this up. The Moderate Illuminati card. I'll find it. I will find it. Nope, can't find it. One for England there. Tape runs out. Frog God, Bigfoot. God, there's so many, isn't there? You forget just how great some of these cards are, to be honest. Like, they are so cool. I'll share the screen with you what I'm looking at right now. Yeah, look at some of these things. They are cool, aren't they? But I'm trying to find the Moderate. So I'm looking for the Moderate here. I did type in the Moderate Illuminati card and I've got nothing there. Intellectuals. Enough is enough. Problem is, once people latch onto one certain one, that's all you ever see. But there were so many that didn't get shown, weren't there? That are out there in circulation that people just don't know about. I can't see this one. Nope. Nope. I can't find it. Right, if you can email me a picture of it, if you've got one, let me know. And I'll put it next to Habib and see what comes up. Okay. That is interesting if that's the case. That is the case. But yeah, I can't find it just at a first glance here. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna leave that to you to email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, and I will look into that if you do send it across. Okay, I will. I promise. Please email me that if you can have a better look at finding it than I can. I know that music is art and nobody has the same taste, and I don't gotta make it for others, but for myself, still, it would be interesting just to explore styles. Everything but rap and country, but maybe I'll explore those as well, just to branch out on every avenue of music that can, so everyone can find a song they like. I missed that there. We're talking about music. You like rock, jazz, classical, metal? Bit of an eclectic taste, eh? Did the Freemasons teach you it? Ice Christ. Be nice. Be nice. Yeah, I don't believe that Christ is a consciousness we can achieve, or it's simply to do with a oil that goes up the spine of the neck and opens the third eye and expands our, all that kind of stuff. I think that is witchcraft, pharmakia nonsense, created by Gnostic, alchemical, hermetical occultists who want to make Christ something you can achieve rather than Christ being somebody you should bow down to and accept as your Lord and Savior. Christ did not say, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and you can get to the Father by becoming like me. That's not what he said. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and nobody gets to the Father but through me, or but by me. That's it. Like, you don't become like him, and then you get to be like God, and then it's, you will be as gods. It's the same lie from the Garden of Eden. It's the same lie, just packaged in a new age, astrotheological, cool wizardry type way. It's nonsense. It's not the truth. Could the Nephilim have actually started as just giant humans in the game of evolution? There's good scientific and archaeological cultural reasons for them looking like clowns. Hey, you don't have to tell me. You're preaching to the choir. I don't know what. Fair enough. What's happened here? What have I missed? Saw it on a guy's YouTube who did an unboxing but never took note of the channel. Oh, well, fair. Well, if you ever figure that out, send me a link and I'll see what I can do. I'll take some pictures myself. The moderates. Let your moderation be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. Okay. You remind me of someone. Oh, I get it now. I see why you remind her of someone. I just clocked it for my moderators and wife behind the scenes. I'm in on the inside joke that nobody else listening understands. I get it now. Okay, I get it. There we go. Have you heard of the 90s music magazine called Heavy Metal? Yes, I have. I watched the film as well a long time ago. What a crazy animation that is. Where Donald Trump is talking about building a wall in a comic strip 30 years before where we are now. A lot of people don't know about this, Paul. Interesting. I didn't know it was in the comic and that happened. I'll have to look into that. Heavy Metal Donald Trump. What is the religion of the elites? Is it Baalism? Is it true they're just the Zodiac Club? That's too specific and too... there are many factions within the elites that are all vying for power with each other. Fundamentally, they are all just Satanists. They worship Satan to varying degrees. Some have a more of a darker aspect of that kind of worship. Some go more into the love and light consciousness aspect of that kind of worship. They all have a sacrificial god. They're all, as you can see, like Baalists, if whatever you will call them. They sacrifice people and their loved ones for power and fame in many ways. They worship the god of this world. They consider him the god who is above the architect of the universe. They are Gnostic by nature. There are many names you could describe them. and many varying degrees of ignorance and levels of actual wisdom and knowledge that they actually have about what they're involved with as well. But fundamentally, they're all Luciferian, satanic people. They worship Lucifer and Satan. They believe themselves to be as gods or have the capacity to become like God through their works on Earth to manipulate the evolution of mankind. So a lot of them might not even be religious about it. They might actually be more technocratic, more a-religious, secular, or atheist about the situation. But they're all kind of have the same agenda, and that is to be as gods. So that is Luciferianism at its finest, really. That is, I will be as God and ascend above the thrones of God and sit in the throne and be as God over everything, you know. In my heart, I want to be above God. So that's them. That's what they believe, fundamentally. And then there's so much nuance going down from that pyramid in many ways. People have made the pyramids, you know, and there's been many factions throughout history who have kind of said our way is the way it's going to be done. Some ignorantly think they are doing good because Lucifer is the light bringer of knowledge. Others fully know well what they're doing and have gone saying down, no, we need to integrate our shadow and do the evil things. A lot of them are in a death cult and they think, humanity needs to be culled down to a small number. And because then the consciousnness of humanity is then concentrated into a fewer amount of people, and then we can be more powerful and godlike. Therefore, genocide is a good thing. You know, a lot of factions have many belief systems within this, and because they're also somewhat deceived and confused, and that's just the nature of the person they are following one way or the other, ignorantly or not, which is Satan. That's it. So I can't just give them a name. There are many of them. They're just religious about it, yeah, whatever it is. Ryan Reynolds descends from one of those families. He has a good interview out there. Okay. What is your view on the actual date of Islam and Muhammad before the 70 AD, as there is no trace of Muhammad in 600 AD? Have you managed to look into that, as that is the nail in the coffin? It's been a long time since I looked into that, but I do think Islam was created by the Jews quite early on in the 1st century as a counter to the rising Christianity. And then not long after that, establishment of that false religion as a strong arm or an army for the Jews who wanted to, again, kill Christians. That's when tribulation would have kicked in. So it wasn't in the 5th century. So was it 6th century when Islam was actually created? It was, again, early 1st century, not long after Christ. That's more likely when it happened. Daydreamers, what do you think of the Artemis moon missions? You're going to have to give me a minute to look into that quickly as a reminder. Artemis moon missions. Sorry, Daydreamers. I'm getting a lot of CGI nonsense coming up immediately. NASA's Artemis moon mission. The first stage of NASA's new lunar exploration program, which has the ultimate goal of establishing long-term presence on the moon's surface. I feel like a lot of these things... I'll share the screen here with the first image I found. I do feel like a lot of this stuff we see are promises of things that will never come to fruition because they know there's not enough time for this actually to ever be a thing. And also it's impossible because the moon, I don't think, is a physical object. It seems more like a plasma projection of some kind. A reflection, perhaps, if you want to go off the one of the models that's out there. But it's not like a floating rock like they make it out to be. It's something trippy and weird. It emits its own cold light. It's not reflecting the sun's light. So all of this is just bullshit. This is just nonsense. This is just magic. This is art that's been created to make us believe this type of things are possible by an institution who's out to corrupt the minds of people and make them believe a false narrative about the nature of the universe and where they live. So when I see stuff like this, I feel like it's like promises of, well, we're going to get there. Oh, one day in the future, you know, we're going to be living on Mars. We're going to be walking around on the moon. We're going to have bases on the moon, you know. And it's just that carrot on a stick that's never going to come. And I think this is probably more likely what this is. That's kind of how I feel about it, to be honest. There will never be anything like this in our lifetime, because something's going to happen that's going to stop all of this in its tracks immediately. And then there'll be the New World Order time where the gathering of the army stuff is happening to go to war with Gog and Magog and the Camp of Saints, you know. So I feel like all of this stuff they know is never going to go anywhere, because something's going to happen which is going to put a halt to all this kind of stuff anyway. So logically it'll seem like, you know, oh, we had such plans, but, you know, woe is us, we're never going to be able to achieve them because our resources have to go towards this terrible thing. Aliens just turned up and we don't have time to be going to the moon right now. You know, something like that's going to happen. Like, so all this stuff is just more of that maintaining the illusion stuff. That's kind of what I feel about these type of things. The scripture says of the moon, she giveth her light. Yeah, so it's actually colder than being in the shadows. Like, if you're in moonlight, if you stand in the shadows, you'll be warmer than if you stand in the moonlight at nighttime. Like, it's colder in the moonlight than it is in the shadows. That's odd, isn't it? That's very odd. When you think about it, it's emitting something that's literally sucking the heat out of stuff. Like, that's odd behavior for light. All right, so it's a power. It's its own mystical power in its own right. It's the lesser light to rule the night. You know, this is something else. This is something else. Is it true conspiracy of moderators working for the system? I don't know what you mean. I see it now exactly. I'm not sure what you're saying. I feel like my gut says Earth is flat, but when I worry, it's because it's what I want to believe. Then I worry it's because I want what I would say, Annabelle, don't lose sleep over it. Like, a lot of people get obsessive over this thing. I think it's far bigger than us for us to be concerning ourselves within the day to day. I have this thing called the shelf of wonder for stuff like this in my mind. It's like a hypothetical shelf where I'm not discarding it and I'm not forgetting about it, but I'm just putting it on the shelf in the back of my mind as something I'll always look back on every now and then and go, yeah, maybe it isn't a sphere. It probably isn't. You know, I'll always remember that it's more likely an enclosed system. But at the same time, practically speaking, what am I supposed to do with that information in the day to day? Like, not much. And you know what I mean? So it's a shelf of wonder thing. It's something I've understood, I've integrated, I put on the shelf, and I can actively go to work and focus on things and feed my family and live a life that God wants me to live, rather than obsessing over things I have no control over. I wasn't there when he laid the foundations of the earth. It's not for me to concern myself with wholly, but I am now wise enough, thanks to the research, to know that people want to lie to me about what it's shaped like to hide God. So there you go. Let's just leave it at that. What else more can I do about that than that itself? But then there's people out there who like get really upset if you are not the guy talking about this all the time, or if in any way, shape, or form you imply it's not that important. You get these bots and people who are very angry and passionate about this topic, who have put their entire life, who have died on that hill and lost everything on that hill, who are not willing to kind of, well, accept it and get over it and move on. Because, yeah, that is the thing. That is true. That is the way it is. And it's kind of okay, but you're still living on it, whether you like it or not, and have a life to live here on this thing, whatever it's shaped like. And, you know, yeah, test the waters and tell people when possible, but don't like make it your identity. That's not what God wanted when he made the creation. He didn't say to man and woman, go forth and multiply and subdue all the beasts of the earth. And while you're at it, make sure you spend every single day remembering what this thing is shaped like and obsessing over it. And just, he didn't say that, did he? That's not what he intended for us to care about. He made the thing for us to live in, not to obsess over. So that's kind of my take on it, you know. And look, I got my flat earth degree. I was there at the start when all the information came out. I studied it for years. I interviewed people. I know all about it, and I've integrated it. I've got it. I get the point. But it's not my identity. Okay? It's not who I am. So, and it shouldn't be who you are either. I think it's a toroid, to be honest, says someone. Well, maybe. Again, I don't subscribe to a particular model. I'm happily open to alternative models. I am. Yes, the Bible describes a closed system with the sun and the moon as lights in the firmament, and you cannot curve water, and the pole star is fixed on its position we use for directions before GPS. Yes. Okay. That's right, Advanced Design. So what? I get it. I've heard this millions and thousands of times, and you're preaching to the choir. Another problem is once this topic comes up, it's all anybody ever bloody talks about in the comments, and it hijacks everything completely. And it's like I am actually just genuinely bored of it. If I'm being really honest, like I am. I've done it. I've been there, done that. Got the T-shirt. Like it's integrated. It's over for me. Like I moved on a long time ago. You know, it's one of those type of things. But I get when it's a new revelation for people. It's all encompassing. I get it. I do. I empathize. But there are channels out there you can go to obsess over with. There are, you know, and go to them. Go and do it with them instead. What am I on now? I've just hit the 2-hour mark. Look at that. I'm at 1 hour 59:52 according to me. Wow, this has flown. It's been good. Thanks for all the super chats for those who wanted to support me today. I really appreciate that. Honestly, it goes a long way, especially since I just told you I'm trying to get on the property ladder. You have no idea how far this type of support actually goes for me. It's ridiculous. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's just an idea right now, you know. We're watching tentatively to see what happens next. But other than that, you know, this is what I do for a living. I love what I do for a living. This is my life, my passion, my joy, and I'm blessed by God that I get to do this every single day. If you want to support me in what I do, consider becoming a patron. Lots of extra stuff on there. I'll be putting up another video on Friday as well. That's exclusive to Patreon only, a series I'm working on called The Things You're Not Allowed to Say. There's 2 episodes up already, and I touch on the spicy things you are not going to hear me ever say on this platform here, because if I did say them, I will lose everything like immediately and be rendered useless. It's one of those, you gotta choose your battles, and YouTube is not the platform to talk about certain things, okay? It'd just be a foolish thing to do, okay? So instead, I'm going to say them on Patreon, because why not? You know, why not? And it's something to give extra to my subscribers as well, those who actually want to support me financially. Lots of extra stuff up there right now, and continues to be posted up there as well. So please come and support me on Patreon if you would like to help me out, or you could buy yourself a copy of The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns. You can see it on Amazon. Looks like this. You can also get an audiobook version as well if you're into that type of thing and you can't read. Other than that, if you want a signed copy, email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com and I can get that out to you wherever you are in the world. Give or take some tax costs, and the postage varies, so we'll work out a price based on where you are. But there we go, guys. That's the show. That's me ranting for 2 hours. I finished early tonight. It's just past 10 p.m. I get to go to bed and get some sleep, which is rare. Usually I'm up until like midnight doing this, but I do appreciate it, guys. And like I said, join Patreon for lots of extra stuff coming on there. It's a great way to support me. Links down below for any other ways as well. But yes, I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for listening. And as always, God bless.